artists, and welcome back to another episode of Paint Along with Skye. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Skye, and I post beginning level acrylic painting tutorials here on YouTube every Saturday. So make sure to hit subscribe so you can join the fun and paint along, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to be notified when I post a new video. Alright, this week we are smack dab in the middle of harvest season, a gorgeous time of year. We have a gorgeous corn painting for today of some beautiful multicolored ears of wild corn. It's going to be really simple. I'm going to break it down every single step of the way for you guys. We have 4 brushes for today's painting. These are the 4 that I use in most of my classes. These 4 come in a kit with these 4 sizes, but yours don't have to be the exact same size and shape, but they should be the general same size and shape as these and made for a water media. This first one is a 3/4 inch wash brush. And then I have 3 pointed brushes of different sizes. I like to use a size 10, a size 3, and a size 3/0. I'm going to get those in my water cup off the side of the screen. To start with today for our background step, I have these beautiful colors right here. I have some violet, some cadmium yellow, a bit of cobalt blue, some white, and some phthalo green. To see a full materials list of everything that you need to paint along, check the description box below. It'll show you the colors that you need for today's specific tutorial, but you'll also find a link to my materials page, which is at skyepratt.com/materials. That will show you everything that I use and recommend. All right, let's go ahead and jump on in with our background step. All right, so I'm going to grab my largest brush for the background step, and I'm going to start in the bottom right hand corner with a beautiful light yellow color, and I'm just going to jump right in and start filling in my first layer of colors on this gorgeous clean white canvas. Always intimidating to take those first couple brush strokes. We're starting simple today though with this background, nothing too crazy. I'm going to take a little bit of this gorgeous phthalo green, which is a really nice turquoise color, and I'm going to mix it with my yellow white mixture and come up with this really pretty seafoam color. And as you can see, I didn't over blend my color with my brush, so I'm getting a little bit of variation with the brush strokes themselves. I'm going to work with that, and the idea here is not necessarily just to lay the color right on top of the one next to it. It is actually to blend the colors together. All right, let me rinse my brush and do that now. And this is, since acrylic paint dries quickly, this is something that you need to do fairly quickly. So rather than keep pulling my green into the yellow, I'm going to grab some yellow and just blend that right along the edge. You see how that is making them disappear more into each other? And if it's not working, you might need a sort of in-between color, and you can kind of walk your way over from one to the other. Okay, and I'm bringing my green in there a little bit, but you can see it's still nice and yellow. And once you have it looking pretty good, call it good. Okay, that's the blending secret there, is that there's no such thing as perfection, but also be brave and get in there and blend things up. All right. And in the other corner, I'm going to start with some beautiful purple, some violet, and this is a very strong pigment, gorgeous, one of my favorites, deep purple, but we're gonna go lighter with some white. So I have sort of like a medium purple. I love the pastels personally, although we're definitely doing the jewel tones with our corn. So it's good to start with a slightly different color background so that our shapes don't get lost. So I'm bringing that over in the same way that I first laid down the yellow. Now on the strip in between, if you know about color theory, you would know about how to walk your way from one color to the other by using these in-between colors, and that comes from the color wheel. And I do have a course on the color wheel, on color theory. It's available on Skillshare and then also through my membership program. Again, don't forget to check that description box below because I put lots of additional information in there for you guys. And I also put it in the comments on how you can check that course out. But again, it's on Skillshare and my members get access to that course too. I really appreciate the support from my members. It's a very small fee to access that course, get perks, and support me and the channel. I'm working on more perks soon, working on another skill building course for us. So thank you for being there. Shout out to you and stay tuned for more. But color theory, it's a really good basic information for painters, and many of my students are beginners that may have never had it, or maybe they had it back in school and it's been a long time and they could use a refresher. But what we're doing here is we're bringing our blue to purple and our blue to green. So we're using the color wheel here to kind of walk our way from these colors so that we're not blending, for instance, yellow with purple, which would give us brown, which wouldn't be as pretty. Well, it's useful sometimes still too. It's like it would turn like a greenish brown, which is not everyone's favorite. But sometimes you need it. A lot of times in like landscapes, you'll find those tones. There's use for every color. But for today, we are not blending our yellow and our purple. Bringing the blue into the green, so we get this little blue-green, and then you see over here we have our blue-purple, purple-blue, blue-violet, technically. We want to get technical. My classes aren't that technical, though. We like to have fun here. But you need the basics, too. All right, once we get this all filled in and blended, we are going to let it dry. And the idea is that we have every little bit of canvas filled in with these beautiful background colors. Just kind of going over everything now. Very little paint on my brush. And any areas that don't look perfect, you can kind of strategically place your corn cobs later. So keep that in mind as well. Or you can try to go in and fix it. Like I'd like some more bright yellow. Bring that into the green right there. And that's really pretty, vibrant yellow. So sometimes I like to come back and add a few more sort of deliberate square-shaped brush strokes of a slightly more saturated version of that color. So I could do that here in the blue too. So it's like a quick little move of the brush stroke. When you move your brush fast like that, the painting, I feel, captures movement even a little bit. You can feel the movement in the brush strokes. And I find these little saturated brush strokes on top of the first initial blend are a nice way to do that. So again, there with some more saturated purple too, get that feeling of movement. And then once it looks good, we're gonna call it good. We're gonna step away and we're gonna let this layer dry completely. And then we're gonna come back and add our foreground. All right, I'll see everyone in a couple minutes. Okay, welcome back, artists. We have a dry first layer and a fresh new piece of palette paper. I have some black and white, some more of my phthalo green, some cadmium yellow, more violet, some burnt sienna, warm brown, and a bit more cobalt blue as well. I rinsed my brushes and got some fresh water at break. let's go ahead and jump right back on into things. So we are going to lay out our 3 main shapes, and I want to do this with a brush I feel comfortable with, which I like to do this second to largest brush of my 4, but you could do the slightly smaller size too if you would prefer. And we're really simply just going to create some oval shapes. And I'm going to start just by doing a line, and then I'll do a sort of half circle shape, and then a cylinder that tapers towards the end. That's going to be the first ear of corn, and then I'm going to have one that goes right underneath it. So those two are slightly overlapping. And then one more large ear up towards the right. Same shape. And a little bit tapered there at the end. Okay, and now we are going to fill those in with their main colors. And this might take a couple coats to get a good coverage. I want to add a little bit of black into this yellow tone that I'm starting out with. I'm going to make it a little bit neutral. And then I'm going to take some warm brown to counteract the green, so that I get a mustardy yellow. And with my mustardy yellow, I'm going to fill in the corn cob that I would like to be yellow. Starting with a darker color, we're going to build our individual kernels up from the base color here, this darker color. And I'm filling this in long ways with smooth brush strokes and covering up my sketch line. And as I mentioned, it might take a couple coats of color to get full coverage, and that's okay, since we're just getting things blocked out right now and the base colors laid down. Okay, yellow corn kernel complete. Moving right along, I'm going to work on my purple one next. And purple's a pretty dark and saturated pigment, so I'm going to add a little bit of white to it, but I want it to be pretty dark. So we're starting with the darker colors and working our way lighter this time. I'm going to fill that in right underneath my yellow friend, right on top. Okay, a little bit more paint for better coverage. We're shooting for full opacity, which is a vocab word that is on my artist's glossary page, which I just recently created for my students to refer to. And the way that you can get this PDF with all these great terms, art terms that I use in this class and are just used in the art world in general. To get that for free, you sign up to my email newsletter, and that's over on my website, skyepratt.com. If you would like to check that out. My other day job is a copy editor, so I'm a big fan of a good PDF glossary and put that together for everyone. Long brush strokes, nice and smooth, going in the direction of the shape, working on that opacity. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush and come in with my blue. The blue I'm going to do the same way with a little bit of white and black, which is what's called a tone, which is where you're adding gray, toning things down a bit. A little bit of black until we get a nice saturated, but dark, but not too dark, shade of blue. And that's going to be my gorgeous blue corn, my favorite. That just made me hungry for blue corn tortilla chips. Okay, moving right along, covering that sketch line. If I see a tiny bit of it, that's okay. Nice. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush thoroughly. We're gonna add some greenery as well. So we have our main corn shapes. Let's do the husk areas now. And I'm going to do this with a beautiful green color. And I'm going to start with a really nice, vibrant green, sort of grass green. I mixed my phthalo green with my cadmium yellow. And I'm going to do a little kind of leaf coming from the top to start, and then a long curved brush stroke coming from the top and working its way down and off the side of the canvas. And then I'm going to do the same on the other side, very long, almost like hair. Like a mermaid. All the way down, and then I want a little bit of extra width in the center, and then it will kind of narrow itself out again. All right. And I'm going to take a couple swipes around each one of my corn cobs with that same shape in mind. A little bit of variation in your brush stroke can be really nice. Okay, this top one I'm going to do a brush stroke up like so, and then curve my way down with a few green sections. Very cute. And then coming down from the other side too, and I got a little bit of variation in some of my green colors passes there. So let me come back with some yellow right in there and add a highlight, sort of make everything look a little more consistent and start to highlight things. I'm going for more of like a yellow green. Some nice wet on wet blending there. Okay, great. Now, we need to step away for a moment and let this layer dry too. And when we come back, we are going to painstakingly add every single kernel into these corn cobs. It'll go probably not as long as you think that it might. It will be okay. I'll lead you guys through it. But take a quick break and shake out your hands and get ready, and we'll come back and we'll add a whole bunch more. All right, I'll see everyone in a few. Okay, welcome back. We have a dry mid layer, and I also got some fresh yellow and a little bit more blue on my piece of palette paper. We are ready to jump back on into things. I'm going to use my medium sized pointed brush, the second to largest brush I have, for the initial lines of color. And I'm going to start in the blue one. Just kind of work my way from right to left. And I'm going to mix up a mid color blue, so medium equal amounts of blue and white about. And then from the top down, I'm going to do a line of brush strokes right down the center. You want them to be pretty close to each other. Okay, and then that's kind of our lightest one with a little bit more saturation now. I'm gonna go right next to it, and I'm going to angle it pointed up slightly. Okay, so it's a little bit angled to give it the cylindrical shape. And a straight line all the way down. We're just getting the colors laid down. All right, and then one pinch darker. We'll have one more row. Still want it to be visible. Also right next to it, and also angled a little bit up. So we have that circular feel. It's okay, things are a little messy right now. We're gonna tidy things up in the next step. But that's gonna be a lot quicker. And I think I just wanna do that now for the other two as well, and then we'll come back and refine everything at the same time, but it's not an exact science of how you wanna do it. You want to do one cob at a time or work your way across all three. Either works just fine. I'm going to do the same kind of idea for my purple and my yellow. So I started with like the lightest that we're gonna add right down the center with brush strokes, just laying them down. And then I worked my way towards the side. Angled slightly up. Make sure to be pushing down enough so that you don't have so much empty space showing, because we're going to outline things. But we don't want to have huge gaps of the actual cob rather than the kernels. Things are getting a little messy and that's okay. Just our first pass. We're gonna build things up a bit, but they are starting to look like corn cobs as well. Okay, I'm rinsing my brush and going in with the yellow one. Going to start with a nice, light, beautiful yellow right down the center. Very pretty color. And we should be getting pretty good coverage also of the background. We don't want to see any background identifying portions seen through. Okay, and then working our way. Going to actually angle down with this one because we have a slight angle. Add some interest there. Mix things up. So this one and that one we're going a little bit up. This one we're going a little bit down. But either way, we're gonna get that circularness. And I'm not gonna darken things too much for my yellow cob. It's because I really like that nice, clean, bright yellow. Every single kernel. Not too bad, right? Okay, I can already tell I want my blue a little bit lighter in this darker section. Because I do want to see every single kernel. And that got a little lost. So quick adjustment there. And I think I'll tidy things up slightly with my purple too, before we start adding our shadows. Yeah, and I want to go a little lighter with this one too. I'll tidy things up there with my outlining step. All right, that's looking a little better. Going to take it one step lighter with the purple down the center so that they're all looking consistent. That looks really cute though. All right, on top of some of these cobs, I'm going to do a little triangular shape. It's going to attach the kernel to the greenery. We don't need to worry about that one because we can't see it. But a quick triangular shape. I had just a little bit of brown in my yellow, so a golden yellow. And I want to add a shadow around the leaves, the husk. Going to do a dark green. And I'm going to use this medium-sized brush because I really like it, but you could use the smaller brush if you would prefer. And I'm going to outline either side. Unless it's a very small shape, then I might just do one pass. Okay, I'm just working through every little section now. Doesn't have to be a full, complete line. It's kind of more of like a shadow. A little bit of disjointedness, I think, looks graceful. I want to make this top part look like it almost folds over right there. So that looks pretty good. And then let me take my lightest highlight in there too, which is going to be a very light green. This green has a little bit of black in it, still too from that color that I just added. I'm going to do a couple quick passes with a highlight color as well. In each section, but not overpowering anything, so you can see all your colors still. Cute. All right, let's jump right back into the corn kernels sections. We can work on whatever area we want first, but again, I'm going to, I think, start in the blue. And the idea here is to take a shadow color in between each of those individual kernels as little tiny disjointed brush strokes. And we're going to kind of square things off, but they'll be a little bit curved as well. Okay, think like a corn kernel. And then they'll back up against each other, so you're kind of darkening the section that's in between those brush strokes, and then you're also sort of straightening out those brush strokes. And it is a little bit time consuming, I know. Tried to find a good time of day where cars aren't passing, but that's not a time. That doesn't exist. It amazes me how loud people's diesel engines are. Those are just like trucks that one person's driving. Not even work trucks. Oh, I've been working our way all around. And just being patient. The one that's right down the center is going to be the most defined. And then as we work our way towards the sides, we get a little bit more disjointed. Detached, not touching. And remember your slight angle. Be pretty light-handed with this. Even though it's a lot of brush strokes, we don't want super thick lines, because then that's going to cover up too much. It's going to look too dark. And then on the outside edge, we're going to do ever so slight little curved brush strokes. And that is really going to add to the kernel shape too, the cob shape. We don't want it to look just like a cylinder anymore. We want individual kernels. And this is also my opportunity to cover any initial white sketch lines. Okay. Not too bad, right? Kind of like bricks or something. We're gonna add a highlight in here in just a minute. But let me just refine, touch up anywhere. Just coming in with some bright blue here and there to kind of even things out a bit color-wise. Okay. And then a nice highlight down the center. It's our brightest highlight. And a little bit, oop, that was yellow. A little bit on the ones next door too, and I'm really just tapping that in. For a little extra roundness. Right in the center. Okay, and I still want to come in here, refine things a little bit, but it's still wet. So for now, I'm just going to leave it. But otherwise, it's looking pretty complete. Okay, and I don't want to do too curved. I'm going to smooth this out a little bit. Okay. Make any adjustments that you need as you go. They might be a little different than mine. It's okay. I'm gonna put some highlights in these guys too. A little bit of a lighter blue once you get to the ones on the side. Whereas in the center we had pretty light color. Okay. Okay, a little smoother, a little bit more even. Little details matter. All right, I'm going to move onto the purple corn cob now. I'm going to do a nice dark purple around each one of these kernels as well. And that actually goes out too far, so let me grab some green and fix that real quick. Okay, I'm just gonna go through this shape and tidy everything up with this dark purple. just purple and black. And I'm trying to make sense of things. So it should actually be logical, your shapes, and in a row. Not too square. I was watching a history documentary and I learned that the Inca were inspired to do their stonework by the patterns in corn. I was like, how cool is that? They have the exquisite stonework that lays on top of each other perfectly. I think it was the Inca, definitely a Mesoamerican culture. You always gotta think about craftsmen and the painstaking hours that they had to spend laying stones when you paint things like this. That sort of makes more sense now. Things get a little crazy over here, admittedly. But I want that slight curve on the outside edge here too. So I'm going to try to tidy things up in there. That looks a little more logical. And over here too, making sure I still have my sketch covered. Okay. And then just going down the rows with highlights, same way as our blue. Little touch, a little kind of curve down each one, highlights their roundness. With more emphasis in the center so that we get that circular look. Test of patience, today's class. Reminds me of my pomegranates intermediate painting that's available for Gold Star members. If you tackled this one and it came out well, I recommend giving that one a try. Okay, moving right along. Let me do actually just a little bit more tidying up over here. And then it looks like I have a leaf that covers this a little bit. So we'll just bring that out and over to tidy things up there. And I'll bring a shadow color along the edge there too. All right, final cob. Okay, home stretch the last kernel rather than last cob, excuse me, cob kernel. It's all a bit corny. We're going to use brown rather than black. in this yellow because the black with yellow would just be too strong. Right next to it, we can do a little bit of black in the brown maybe, to tone it down a little. I'm just working my way around each of those initial brush strokes. Once again. Going from the center down. Remembering my slight downward angle. The darker brown looks nice too. And some of the center parts, and then I have some of the warmer, lighter brown as well. Adds different layers of depth. I'm trying not to confuse myself too much with all of these brush strokes. I'm probably going to go over things one more time with yellow in this one, since our yellow just doesn't have the same coverage power that the darker colors have on this colorful background. So I'm going to take some yellow with my slightly larger brush again. Ooh, and I am running out of clean colors and space on my palette. I'm going to tap a little bit of light yellow into the majority of these again. Can kind of be our highlight over here too. I just needed more coverage than the smaller brush. So we need that opacity. Don't want to have any see-through bits when we're done. I guess I'll add a little highlight as well. The brightest. It needs it. A little bit of white. But I'm out of clean white, so let me grab one more little tiny little bit of white. I grabbed a little more white and a little more yellow. Feel free to start a second palette if you need the space. I'm just working with this camera setup. Yes, that's what it needed. A little bit of nice bright yellow. Tapped into each of those kernels consistently. Little bit of almost white in most of them. We'll make that consistent highlight look. Okay, and I'm going to outline this one in a very dark brown, darker than the color that I used for the in-between parts. Wiggling my way up the top of the corn cob and on the other side as well. I'm just going to do a little shadow there instead of the individual kernels, since we have a bit of an overlap. All right, and I think I need a little more white highlight even, right down the center of my yellow corn. Wish I had corn chips right now. Okay, pretty cute. All right, with some brown now. I'm going to outline this little square section and add some dots in there with brown. And then I'm going to come back with beige color and put some more dots right on top of that until I get a little bit of a textured triangle, like so. Okay, and with that beige also, I'm going to do a few little kind of corn hairs from the top. So final little highlight, very cute. Kind of wherever you'd like, and put any other final details that you would like on your composition. Let me do one swipe of a dark color right next to that beige. I'll do a dark brown. Pretty cute. I think I'd like to also outline these top sections with a little bit of black, just to make them match, look consistent. Very cute. And I think one last little green highlight could look nice in some of our leaves. Just have a very light green. Lightest highlights and darkest shadows, final pass. Little bit of purple ever so light, right down the center. Just that tiny, tiny, tiny bit of purple in there. Mostly white. Final highlights for my blue if I want to add any more. But those are looking pretty cute. Tidy things up a bit here and there, but that is the end of the instruction for today's tutorial. I would love to know what you thought of it in the comments section below. Don't forget to check out Color Theory 101 over on Skillshare or through my membership program. I also want to mention that I am doing live sessions now, screen-to-screen classes and Ask the Teacher, little brief meetings. And all the information that I mentioned throughout, again, is in the comments section below and in the description box. So thanks again for watching. Happy fall, happy harvest season. I hope you enjoyed painting along with me today. And until next time, stay creative.